Hey guys, welcome back to the Lou Perez podcast on the Lions of Liberty podcast network. This is a very special episode, special event, because I am joined by my guest, Hatem Gabr, who is the host of the Live from America podcast. So what you are getting right now is the Lou Perez podcast and the Live from America podcast broadcast into your head or ears or whatever. How was that, Hatem? I know
That's
you're going to
awesome.
goof on me either way. There's nothing I could do. There's nothing I could do. Nothing I could say that's good enough for my friend Hatem.
No. I love it. I love when we do a podcast together and kind of like one of Law and Order episodes where they got Chicago PD too, you know?
Oh, I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, once in a while they'll do like a crossover. So
Yeah, your hair's looking really good.
thanks. I showered for this podcast.
Yeah,
Hmm.
nice. I often find that my hair looks better when I don't shower.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. All right, everybody. Now everybody's up to date on where we are. There's a lot of stuff that's happened in the world, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. We happen to be in the month where Ramadan is being celebrated. And Hatem, my friend, is a practicing Muslim. So what's it been like this Ramadan season? Is it
Well,
is this the best one compared to the others? Or the other
well,
2,000 years
I
of
always like the season premiere of Ramadan was the best one. But I mean, Ramadan, or as American called it, intermittent fasting, is a very healthy and beautiful month where you celebrate so many things. It's kind of like you really get to know yourself in terms of discipline, compassion, family time, stuff like that. The idea is a lot of us don't, you know, really feel hungry or thirsty, and we're lucky for that. When somebody tell you I'm hungry, you can understand, but not really, But when you practice Ramadan and you discipline yourself, not just from food or drinks but everything else, you become a better person and you can understand. And usually you give more. So I really, really enjoy it and like it. Makes you control your temper, everything. It's a beautiful month.
how long does the fasting last? Is it from sun up to sundown?
Yeah, from sunset to sundown. But
Are you allowed to have water?
no, nothing. So no food, no drinks, nothing at all. Just complete fasting. That's why I say when somebody say I'm thirsty, you really understand what they say.
Yeah.
Uh, and also it's more than just the food and drink part. It's also the discipline part. Like you can't just be fast and in a bad mood and cursing everybody and doing. You're supposed to be doing good. You're supposed to help as much as you can, give as much as you can. And that's for a month.
Yeah, I think, there was a fighter, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I think that he had at least one fight during the month of Ramadan, or his training leading up to his fight took place during Ramadan, and I just can't even imagine that, uh, being training for a mixed martial arts fight or having a mixed martial arts fight and having to fast,
Yeah.
no water and then the, big meal at the end of the night.
I'll give you one more. Like there's few NFL players during the preseason, and if you ever been in a preseason, NFL, especially football, is the hardest preseason. Because it's meant to, especially in a preseason, it's meant to break you. Make sure that you're tough enough, especially for new kids coming in and all that. So there's a few of them that did the whole preseason fasting. Usually there's a lot of at that level. Somebody like Khabib or like any professional footballer or basketballer or whatever. You have enough help of nutritions that design program for you. Like I remember Habib's program. I remember the NFL program. They will overload them at night with a lot of things. So still it's very hard for them to do, and it's especially when people like that do it and play. Some people play in the World Cup during or the Premier League during fasting. And now in England, in the Premier League, they have a fasting break during the game. So, like at certain point, whenever the sun go down, they stop for people to eat some stuff and stuff.
With the players start eating stuff
Hmm.
on the sideline, yeah?
Yeah, usually they just give you like it's something very nutritious and some water. So like a mixed drink and like dates or something like that, just to
Mhm.
give you a lot of. And it's not a whole full meal, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the calorie count. I mean, if you're I'm not an athlete, and I eat like, maybe like 2,600 calories if I work out, maybe over 3,000. I mean, you got guys who are just burning through that, in almost like a sitting, right? So if you have like someone getting like normally like 10,000 calories, like, as would somebody like a bicyclist or something like that, that's a different level of hunger,
Yeah.
right? Than a normal person would do.
And the athlete are known for discipline, so, that's a major discipline, but, how many people actually in the world, like in Sudan or Gaza or Congo or, like, so all around the world, it's not that only Ramadan, they don't have food at all,
Right.
you know? So, yeah, it's a month that, it's about appreciation, like I said, discipline, giving back, understanding, all that.
Yeah. This is my first year that I'm doing Lent, uh, and I gave up beef, and I told my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, but you don't really eat beef anyway." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm kinda all right, I'm a lazy, sacrifice,"
That's cheating.
Yeah, I know. It's like
Yeah,
you have
but,
to give up
when we
something.
do like a to-do list and I already have, like, the first 3 things I already done.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, well, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because you're in New York. I know for the past like 4 years or so, there have been public prayer, Muslim prayer in, I believe, Times Square. And I thought it was something that when I heard about it, I'm like, part of me was like, oh, this must have been happening for a long time, and then another part was like, oh wow, it's only been happening for like 4 years. Um, but there was like this controversy about, you know, dogs in the city and stuff. So apparently, like someone had said, like, I believe she was a Muslim woman said, I want to get rid of dogs, and then people were like, "Fuck you, I like dogs." So then you had a representative in Congress saying, "You got to choose. If you had to choose between dogs and Muslims, which way would you choose?" And my friend Hatem is lucky I don't like dogs because uh, but and then, so that all is it's coming together to where there was, I think, like, a plan to for like, people with dogs to disrupt the prayer service in Times Square. I don't think it happened, right? Um,
No, it did not, and it's just a funny story. So it's another one of those stories that you know people with no information will do. So some dogs is like, "Oh my god, they hit my dog! I'm gonna go and do this." And someone's like, you know, it's a funny story, but it's again, it comes from a lack of understanding. And to be honest with you, like right now, I don't say it anymore. Like people don't understand things because it's one click away from getting any story that you want and the truth about anything. Especially like if you get something like Chat GPT, it was like a little bit like say like not like news, but will kind of give you facts. So no, first the prayer thing. I've been in New York forever, most of my life, and it went from people not knowing what Ramadan is to people really appreciate Ramadan and sometimes like not even drinking or eating in front of you. And sometimes friends will fast with you. It's like, hey, let's fast and eat together later on and stuff like that. So it really changed, which is one of the great things about New York is like whatever community you're part in, the whole city want to be part of. You know, you celebrate everything. We kind of celebrate everything. So the prayers thing. So there's the in Muslim obviously we pray 5 times. There's two major prayer. One is Fridays, kind of like Sunday church is like Friday, and one is especially in Ramadan where it's like you just do some prayers. So they started in Times Square a few years back, and it's been amazing. And since it started, people that just hate the fact that people are happy or doing something like what New York is defined by, which is culture. They just want to come in. I remember they came and say like, "Oh, you cannot have alcohol. You cannot pray in a place where there was alcohol before. So let's ban alcohol from Times Square. We cannot." I don't know if you heard this story before,
oh.
because supposedly like you cannot pray if there's like if there's a liquor there or was liquor there, which is again not
Oh,
true.
so you can never pray around me because there's always liquor.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Is like so people keep saying if anybody want to say that the relationship with dogs and Islam, you find that animals in general are in high place in the religion and respect. There's a story about the Prophet said that one lady was hurting a cat, and she was a devoted Muslim. She's going to hell. She's not going to heaven because the way she treated her cat. There's a big story in Quran about a dog, you know. So
Even in the Quran, they shit on cat ladies. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's actually for the cat ladies, but I mean, in the Quran, there's a very story of like 7 people with a dog. I mean, the dog is for protection, for guidance, for help, for it was used in war. There's a lot of times in wars that while they're praying, their dogs protect. I mean, so this is coming out of nowhere. So it's funny. I enjoy when people just try to divide things, and all you have to do is just to click. But I tell you what, if there's people show up with, first of all, I usually say owners overall are cool people. I love
Mhm.
dogs, so I'll take a place. So I don't think they will show up and just, what are you gonna do? Walk through with a dog? It's okay. Yeah, some of the people there have dogs, and they put them on the side while they're praying. It's crazy, but
Well well
it's
well, what
funny.
I it's one of those things that, like you said, you have, like, all this information at the tip of your fingers, and when I started hearing about this stuff, obviously, I'm making jokes about it and all that, but then I start looking at the actual complaints about dogs in the city, right? And one of the complaints is the snow melts and there's dog shit everywhere, right? Which, look, you know, uh, I agree. I don't like dog shit being everywhere. Then there's another one of people, like, bringing their dogs onto the subway and not having them in their bags or whatever, and it's like, I agree, So it's sort of like, if people wanna make it, like, I don't know, like, kind of a religious war kind of thing, I'm like, I don't know, I think Islam has a pretty good idea about, about what you should be doing with dogs, clean up your shit and then put them in a bag when they're on the subway.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like the culture of complaining and fighting when it finds its way to a community, which every community have it. But I always say this story. I was somewhere in Indonesia. I don't remember where, but there was this secret temple in the middle of the water. And whenever there's low tide, you see the temple. And when there's high tide, you don't see the temple. So people will line up to go to the temple when they're low tide. But for some reason there, they believe that you have to cover your legs. So they have like a kind of like skirt thing, and everybody have to cover the legs to go to see the temple. And because of everybody wanna take a TikTok on Instagram, nobody complains. Everybody put it on. Nobody said it's stupid. Nobody said anything. They just do what the people there believe, and that's what you should do. Like wherever you go, you believe in something, you do it, and try to understand it. Don't just come. I like it's like, why do I have to wear this? I'm not wearing this. I'm not. So try to understand the culture and respect where people coming from and not change them. But yeah, the dogs thing is ridiculous.
Yeah. How many more, days, for Ramadan? Mhm.
It just started. This is, I think it's fifth or sixth day, so
Oh,
still what long way to go. But this is actually when Ramadan comes in the winter, it's very nice because imagine when it's really, really hot, in the summer.
mm,
So, and also, the sunset to sundown is like not too long. So
nice.
there are some countries like, in the Scandinavian countries
Oh,
where
shit. Yeah, what are you
yeah,
gonna do?
they fast for like 19 hours, but they have a break. They have like this is the things about like Ramadan. Like there's so many breaks in Islam. If you have this, you don't like I am sick, I have to take medication, I don't have to do it. You know?
Mm.
So there's a lot of things like that where people don't, not religiously just do anything. So but it's really funny when I always tell people it's like, in Iceland or whatever, it's like it's 22 hours of fasting, I think, out of 24.
Oh, man, that's where the real, like, hardcore, uh
Yeah, take the Muslim Brotherhood there. Let's see what they're gonna do.
yeah. They're gonna be so pissed off, man.
They're like, "You know what? We're not that Muslim,
Yeah,
Brotherhood."
we're not that much like, what do we yeah, what do
I
they
always have
do?
this theory is like whenever there's an organization that put Muslim in the name is usually far away from Muslim. Muslim Brotherhood, ISIS, ISIL, all of them.
Mhm. Well, it's like, what's the, North Korea, what's the People's Republic of,
Exactly.
well,
It's usually the opposite.
yeah. Well, so we just, oh, I don't know if you guys can hear my kids running around, but, uh, the Olympics just ended. Were you able to watch,
Yeah.
the Winter
You
Olympics?
know I'm an athlete, so I love these things.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Hatem was a, professional soccer player, and he also got to represent the United States
Yeah.
in the
World
what
Cup, Transplant World Cup in Italy. I was the team captain.
yeah, so for those of you who don't know,
Football, soccer.
Transplant
Yeah.
World Cup, are for every single player on that team has a transplant of some sort. Hatem has had a heart transplant 5 almost we're coming on 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like
So basically, it's any professional player that have a transplant or cannot in a dangerous setting of performing in a professional level in a regular, but it used to be. So they would get us together and have a bunch of doctors around, and and each country, it's just as good and as amazing, and everybody's obviously is even more competitive because these people survived a lot. So it's amazing. But I had the honor to represent the U.S. I was in Team USA and I was the captain. And it was, and I tell you, like, one of the things is, like, we had a game actually in 9/11, and that game meant a lot to everybody that was there and players, and we managed to win the game even though the odds were against us. But yeah,
who'd you beat, on 9/11?
Wills
Oh, Wales, okay. Who were behind 9/11? I think I wanna remind everybody, the Welsh
or the
were
Welsh
all
was behind it. Yeah,
were
what's
all
interesting is, like, me for being from the Indo Middle Eastern background, and like the captain of Team USA in 9/11, and I was standing. We have the moment of silence, and they asked me also if I want to say something in the mic. I was like, "What did I say? Sorry." It's it's kind of odd, that people, like, especially like you in Italy and Europe, and all the people from different nations looking and they expecting something different a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I
I
love sports.
I would imagine that the best team would be Turkey because they would just have players who have hair transplants. It's just
I
their
think
pro team.
I think it had to be an organ transplant. Actually, Chile won the that World Cup, and Spain came second.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's awesome, and not to take anything away from it, but I want every single one of those players on the winning team to be tested, because you know how it is with sports, man. People cheat. You're like, "Yeah, yeah, I got yeah, it's not my heart." Yeah, no.
You know what's interesting? I mean, I think me and 4 more in the whole tournament was hard. Most of the people with liver or a
Oh, wow.
kidney or stuff like that. But you know what's interesting to your point is, and I think it was really funny. So after the games, when we do the recovery and we go to the pool or sauna or ice bath or whatever, so everybody, all the teams are in the village, and we all, obviously in shorts, and we all are cut from the surgery. So it looks like a war zone, like we are in a camp or something and being tortured because we all have cuts everywhere from the surgery. So
You guys
if
are
you
all
see
like
somebody with no cut, it's like, you're
yeah.
cheating.
You guys are like yeah, you're like science experiments, kind of,
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. It's like, are we like in the back of a lab or something? Is like, but it's very, and that life. This is one of the things about back to the Olympics or like the World Cup or like any events that involved sports, is like the when all the nations get together and live in the village, either the Olympic village or the hotels or whatever area that in that culture exchange is so good. And I don't know if you know, most of the time, no, I'm not gonna say that this isn't happening in the World Cup where I play, but most of the time people sleep together, like athletes sleep together because everybody's like in a great shape and they're like so stressed. So you feel, I don't know if you know, there's actually in every Olympic village, there's so many condom machines because there's like people just fuck,
I'll tell you what, if there's one class of people that I don't want wearing condoms, it's Olympians, because 'cause I'm like, "Have those babies,
but they
man."
fucking each other. So you don't want super Olympian. You want,
Oh,
you
oh,
want them
that's
to
right,
cheat with
because
regular people.
oh, yeah, because 'cause they'll come together and be like, the, shot putter from France and the shot putter from, Iceland, and they're like, "What are you doing? You're giving the
Yeah.
advantage to the offspring." There was a Canadian, goaltender, Martin Brodeur, I believe it was, and he was a fantastic NHL player, and I think they won the World Cup, at least, excuse me, they won the Olympics at least one time, and, w something that he had said speaking about the villages, the Olympic villages, he's like, "Look, you guys are all NHL players, and this is gonna be, like, the only time where you're back to living like you were in college, like, with, roommates and stuff, and you're in the village where everybody knows who you are because you're a professional athlete." He's like, "Take the opportunity to go up to people and talk to them and find out, who they are because they're gonna be weird they're not gonna be as comfortable coming up to you because you're a professional athlete."
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is like, you also, the food, obviously you have your own chefs, you have your own, program and stuff like that. Nobody follows up, but I don't know. But it's just like the culture. Like when I was in Italy, I made sure to like reach out to like and go and talk to people, even that if there's a language barrier, it's just like the sports and stuff, and you see how people act things. It's just like it's amazing, a really amazing feeling to represent a country or be part of this.
Yeah. So I didn't get to watch, the men's championship yet because I was driving back. I was opening for, Rob Schneider at, Magooby's in Maryland.
I
Uh,
heard 4 sold out shows, right?
5
5, you
sold out.
added more? Oh, nice.
Yeah, there were so originally there were 4, they sold out, and then they added an early show on Saturday. So a 4:15 show. So we did a 4:15, 7:30, and a 9:30. So 3
Nice.
shows in one day. And then the next morning, I was heading back to New Jersey, and there was gonna be, like, a snowstorm, so I had to go early. And, so while I was driving, that's when the men were playing and when they won. And at some point in my drive, I was able to listen to, Jack Hughes. It was like post-game interview, and it's after he had lost, like, he got a tooth knocked out. He he got a tooth knocked out, he won the game-winning goal in overtime, and he gave this impassioned, beautiful speech about, "I love my country, the brotherhood of American hockey is so great," that I was driving, I'm actually getting tears in my eyes listening to it, and I hadn't even seen the game yet.
Well, you all usually have tears in your eyes.
Yeah, that is true. I'm usually just a big blubbery pussy, just going. But, it's sort of in the aftermath of them winning, I started, reading more about Jack and Quinn, who are brothers, and they have another brother, Luke, who plays, in the NHL. And these young guys are like, I can't think of better ambassadors for the sport and also the country. Like, it was a real prideful moment and something that, um, I think I would hope that everybody was able to put aside bullshit. Of course not, but, like, in that moment, and especially seeing that picture of him, with his teeth knocked out in the USA jersey draped over him. I told my wife, I'm like, we're hanging that up. We gotta get that in the house." And I used to play hockey as a kid, and, man, it was just such a cool feeling to, to see that in another person. So,
Yeah, I mean, that game and that, tournament, especially hockey, I think when you are as as a country, as the United States, when you are in the sports that you're not dominating and then
right.
you win it, it's huge. It's kinda like the Miracle in Ice,
Yep.
thing back in the day. It's just like when all the odds are against you, and that's always a comeback. The comeback, the, underdog, that's what sports is, the best stories is about. Is that you never watch a movie where they just win and they go home. It's like, no, they have to lose and build and have fights together and build something, and, so that's what it's about. So for that, not to take away from like sports where we dominating, like say basketball, even though we're not as dominant as before. But the original Dream Team, it was more of a showcase than anything else. For this to come that far and for them to play, and if again, one of the best saying is when they say back the team that played hockey in Miracle on the Ice, if you played for the letters in the front, they will remember the name in the back.
Mm,
If you play for your country, and this is one of the things that I always feel that it's missing here. You know, when you grow up anywhere else, there's always this big dream of playing professional, but to represent your country. I don't think that's very big here in certain sports because we first of all we say you played the Yankees versus the Phillies, and he's like the world champion, but you haven't played anybody else.
mm,
To represent your country is a great honor, and I don't see that except in individual players. So it only happened really in the Olympics and then a World Cup kind of setting. But the rest of the time, kids don't grow up being like they like, oh, I want to play for the Lakers. I want to play for the Knicks. That I never hear anybody say like, I want to play for Team USA for basketball. So that culture actually is in hockey.
Mhm.
and in soccer, but in hockey a little bit more here, maybe in women's soccer here too, but not men as much. So to have that, to your point, is amazing. Of course, people are gonna jump in and try to divide, and it's like, you put politics in the middle. But that what he was talking about, also the story that they dedicated. You remember about the guy that
Yeah, do you wanna
uh,
talk about that just a little bit?
one of their teammates, team captain, and he had a car accident, with his brother while biking a few months back, and
Yeah, he would
died.
yeah, they were biking, I think it was, like I don't know if it was, like, a day before or the same day, his sister was supposed to get married, killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah. And since then, they've been carrying his jersey, and even that's what he said in the post interview. Is like he was the best player that played in this game, and he wasn't in the game.
Mm.
But this is what I'm talking about when you talk about a culture, about a team, about a country. It's bigger. The individuals come and go, but the bigger picture. So I think that culture managed to happen in the hockey team. They managed to do that, and also, like I said before. Few times in the women's soccer team, like where you find that, you know, you can tell when somebody's playing for themselves or playing for the, professional career or for the country. So for them to play that, the only thing that ruined it for me was for Patel being there, Um,
Yeah, yeah, what yeah, yeah, well, let's talk about that. I definitely wanna talk about that in just a little bit. I just wanna say about, the player who died so tragically. They had this incredible moment at the end of the game where they went and they brought his 2 of his children out to take the team picture with him. And it was such a moving
and his
part, and
jersey.
yeah, and and to give credit too to the women, I mean, some of those goals were so nasty, like, the skill levels are it's almost like I'm watching a different game than I played when I was a kid. Like, what they're able to do, the men and the women, is pretty amazing. So, yeah, you have all these really great moments of excellence and triumph and patriotism and all that, and then there's a little jarring thing of here's the head of the FBI in the locker room. I don't know what uh, I don't know what relationship he has with him. I don't know if he forced his
He's a
way in.
huge hockey fan.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's nothing like seeing somebody that not in shape drinking beer with everybody else in shape, and he definitely belongs. He looks like me in Team USA in the World Cup. Let's put it this way.
Uh,
He doesn't belong in this group.
uh.
But, yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, yeah. So he was in the locker room, and then I guess that leads to one of the other controversial moments where the guys get a phone call from President Trump. So I had posted about this. Um, President Trump, I thought he had a lot of really fun things to say. The guys were getting a kick out of him. I think he made a bad move with a joke about he had said, "I want to invite you guys to the State of the Union," and made a joke about, I guess we could invite the women team or or something like that, which I thought was kind of a cheap thing to play to say. I think he could have played it really well by saying like just the line of, "You guys were great. We got to invite the women too because they were fantastic, and you both represent our country so well and so proudly. We got to get everybody together." And then I said, if he wanted to make a joke, he could have made a joke about maybe we can get you guys to breed together to make a super hockey team. If he wanted to make a joke, you know. But it's one of those things where uh, obviously anyone who hates Trump is going to glom onto that, and it's going to sour the rest of it. It didn't sour the rest of the call or the players. Um, I thought here you have young men who played the fucking game of their lives. They're pounding back beer. They're excited. They get a call from the fucking president. Like I don't care. Yeah, I don't know where they stand politically, but they could have gotten a call from Biden, they could have got a call from Obama, whoever the president was, and they would have been stoked and laughed along with whatever jokes and all that. So I feel like, criticism for Trump and what he said, okay, I can see that, but to kind of go after the guys, like, how dare they not, stop the phone call and say, "That's not funny, Mr. President," or blah blah blah. It's like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, first of all, all presidents done it. Like every president called during after the game. Biden called the women's when they won the World Cup. Uh, Obama called. Every president called the U.S. And I want to explain something. And just like I hope people again take their political affiliation ahead and just like they're sharpen their knives. Okay, you play for your country. Okay, so you and me are representing the U.S. It's a battle. We're getting knocked out. We're killing each other. We beyond tired. We do everything, and the things that keep you going if you're playing for a national team is your pride, your and playing for others. Kind of like the guy that passed away. That's why this team is a team because when you play for something bigger than you, it becomes that. So the representation of the country is the flag, the president, so at that moment, we as a team, they say we has just put the name of the US up there. Not the Republicans, not the Democrats, not MAGA, no one, just USA, the whole country, the pride, the name. And I might say we were the underdogs. It's not that they were, the favorites. So that's so when you see the flag, and that's why I always had a problem with kneeling to the flag, by the way. And the other thing, so you see the flag, that's what gets the emotions. You hear the national anthem, that's what you get the emotion. That's what reminds you this is what you're playing for. And you will remember every single person that you ever cross road with, even the street. You remember they like their eyes and you think they're telling you, you know, that you are the best and thank you and all that. And then you get a call from somebody, not at this moment is not Trump or Biden or Obama. At this moment, it's the president of the United States.
Mm.
So of course you'll be like, and remember, you have so much emotions building up to that game, and you just finish the game and you get that call. So this is all built in. It's not like, all of us sitting in our pajamas having popcorn and drinking whatever and saying like, oh, this is what they should have done, or no. And there's a protocol, so um, I don't um I don't take it, but it's interesting to me that even in the Olympics, there's this political, like a MAGA versus non-MAGA, Republican versus Democrat. Like some athlete will come in and it's like, I have a tough time playing for the U.S. While this going on, and others is like, I love the U.S. And they're both winning, but
Yeah,
it's two different things.
yeah, and something I realized too, when President Trump called them, he was very funny throughout the whole thing. I mean, he was cracking jokes. He's like, "Oh, that goalie. Oh, man, that goalie," and, like, saying, like, I forget who he was kinda messing with, like, "You almost missed it," or something like.
Yeah,
So it was like joke, 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 light, light, light.
and
And then I'm gonna say that then he says the joke about, the women's team. So it's all a part. It's not like it was a very standard, straightforward,
yeah, and this is
straight
the
thing.
thing is like about Trump, like again, you like him or you don't like him, this is up to you. I disagree with a lot of what he does.
Mhm.
But there's one thing about him, obviously he's entertaining, but in that call, he showed the players that he actually watched the game. Not
Yeah,
only
he was
watched the game,
excited. He
he
was
was rooting for the game.
Yeah,
And I think this is what, again, back to like when he did that Joe Rogan interview and talked to people thought he was real. It's just actually not acting versus a lot of politicians acting. So he actually was watching. I remember Biden when he was calling the women's team in, after the beat Japan like 3-0, and he's like, "Put me on, coach. Put me in, coach. Put me in." You know, they always you feel like your president is rooting for you is just a fan. You're bigger than him at that point, but they believed him because he was being real. He actually watched the game. Like you said, he was talking about the goalie. He was, oh, what a goalie. And,
yeah,
so it's different when people actually root for you. People can tell if you're bullshitter or not.
yeah.
But obviously his comments, again, he's from New York and his comments are awful always. Like he have to fuck it up somehow.
Exactly. It's tough. Like, because, you've lived in New York for forever. It's like he's a type of guy. He's a type of New Yorker who, he's a ball buster. And that's how it is. And, I wasn't keeping track of, the whole Olympics. I remember hearing about, some, some of the athletes, having, coming out and saying, basically, they don't support what Donald Trump is doing, and then other athletes kind of saying like, I don't wanna comment on this stuff, you know? Um, and, I remember I think there was one of the guys on, like, the curling team who had something to say, and I was thinking of a joke about it, and I said, because the curler had, like, a problem, I guess, with what ice was doing, and I said, "He's gotta be careful because his sport is played with a broom, so it's so easy to get an illegal, from Ecuador to come and take his spot, and then if that happens, we'll see what he thinks about ice." But,
It you know what's funny is, like, first of all, I don't know how Trump has the time to comment on the fucking Emmys, the Oscars, and he watch all of them. I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
how does he does that, you know? But, to me, when there's somebody that just won the gold medal and Trump tweets, "What a fucking loser." It's like, he just won the
Yeah.
gold medal. But, listen, to me, the way I see it is, again, just I want to explain the part of about kneeling to the flag just a little bit so people can understand. When I judge this, I go, and I said that before. I go with four things. It's like the cause, the purpose. So you complaining about racism in America, I agree with that. Second is like, where do you do it during the game? I agree with that because you bring in a lot of attention. Three, when do you do it during the national anthem? I don't agree with that. I think you just should do it in the game before the game starts or at moment in the game, but you also representing the flag and the national anthem that let you speak that way or represent a lot of good things. When athlete comes in the Olympics, there's different ones. There's one that says, you know, I don't agree with a lot of things that happened in the US with ICE. I agree with that. I think they should do. They have a platform, they should talk about it. But I have a problem with somebody who say, like, I have a problem representing the US. Well,
Mhm.
then don't fucking go.
And don't do it. Yeah, yeah.
You why you here? Then you're telling us that you're doing this for yourself, you
Yeah.
know? So use a platform to advocate for the right things and what's wrong, and people will know. It's like, if I was there, I would be like, listen, I'm honored to be part of the Team USA, and that's why I'm allowed to speak other than, a lot of people like North Korea, and you just like give them the wink wink. North Korea can say shit, I can. And I want to criticize ICE. I want to criticize the racism. I want to criticize that. And that's why, because I love my country and I'm able to, and that's why I'm representing this country because it allows me to do it. But don't say I don't want to represent. I'm have a tough time representing. Don't fucking go there.
Yeah, yeah. Or, you could do the thing and you get paid by, the Chinese, millions of dollars to go and ski for them. Like, Eileen Gu, who I said it's the first time in history that China bought something that was made in the USA.
Oh, that's
Uh,
funny.
yeah.
I think we're gonna disagree on that one. But yeah, go
Let me
ahead.
know.
Tell me
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
your
but
opinion.
what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, first of all, she is an amazing athlete. An amazing role model. So what people don't know, or maybe they know, but it's not covered a lot in the media, is like it is a thing of people representing other countries. It's not like unknown that you can represent other countries or athletes. So, for example, right now in this Olympics, uh, there's the Team USA about 230 people. 232. There is about seven of them that were not born in the US, and there's 31 of them that's sons of immigrants. So that's about 25% of the team almost not, and I think there's four or five that's they're not, their hometown is somewhere else. So there's about 25% that came from somewhere else eventually, and they play. Also in the Olympics, because the rules is different than soccer. Like soccer, if you represent a country when you were 17 or 18, you cannot change the country. In the Olympics, you just have to skip one circle. So a lot of countries will, especially take athlete from China, from Russia, from Africa. They will skip one circle and then they get them. So it's known. The way she said she wanted to play for China was not for the money. Obviously, her dad spent a lot of money on her, about $1 million. They say.
Well, her
Uh,
mo n not she doesn't know. I don't think we know her
Her mom, I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that what she said, that she can influence more girls around the world, but she wanted to influence people in China as well. So I don't think her representation was, and she said, in an interview, is like, if that was another country, if I was, she went to represent, any other country other than China because you know, it's controversial. People will not have a problem with it, you know?
Well so a couple of things. One, um, Americans aren't gonna, be in an uproar over, the children of immigrants playing for America or, foreign nationals who come here and become American citizens representing us. You're representing the US, right? And it's sort of similar to, um, there was another, Chinese American girl, who, in figure skating and everyone was it Lou? I believe her last name was, and
I'm sure it's Lou. It's kinda like
it might be
Muhammad
Lou.
it's kinda like
She
Muhammad in
Yeah,
Islam.
yeah. It's like, yeah, there's a really good chance it was Lou. Um, and people were like, "Oh, MAGA must hate this because she's woke." And it's like, no, like, everyone's really happy because she was an awesome skater, and when she held the flag, it was like putting the country above whatever the political stuff is. So, you know, there there's that. As far as, playing for, being an American playing for other teams, like, I remember, I think it was in the '90s when they, I don't know, it was like the last year that they had amateurs playing, in hockey, but I think, like, Italy I think most of the players in Italy were Italian Americans who, went and played, like, they couldn't make the US team, so they went and they played in Italy, but that being said, I mean, China is a very particular kinda country with, it's a one-state authoritarian dictatorship, right? Um and the influence that it has on the world, like, there's no free speech there. I mean, one of the fun things is just being on X, getting into arguments with all of these uh shills for China, just talking about, like, fuck you and your pedo loving president, and Eileen Gu is fantastic, just all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you need a VPN to even be having this conversation with me in China. Like, you have to watch your ass in China. So I think it says something, choosing to go from what I would call the freest country in the world to represent another country that is in many ways so not free. And I think that's one of the main issue there.
Well, then with that theory, then everybody should represent the US, you know? I think what you
Well,
were
they couldn't. I mean, well, they couldn't. That's where ICE comes in. ICE makes sure that, not
Well,
only.
ICE, it's funny. I think the French players said it best in a World Cup. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of World Cup references, but a few World Cup ago, if you look at the French team, the almost all of them are African Americans, or black,
Yeah, African
Yeah,
African Frenchmen, yeah.
yeah. So they say, and a few of them said after they lost the World Cup and then they won the next one, is like when you lose, you're an immigrant, and when you win, you're French that have a great story. So I think the way it's looked at is a little different for immigrants. I think when somebody chooses to represent a country or a concept, they are the only one that knows why they represent it. And to me, what she said about she wants the girls in China to be inspired just like the girls in the US, but she wanted to be even more. I think that's a great cause because she didn't say, "Oh, I agree with, um, the, authority or the,
Well, she
government or
couldn't.
whatever I'm
She couldn't say
representing."
that, though. But let's be real, she couldn't say that.
What do you mean?
If she doesn't agree with what China's doing, she couldn't say that.
No, no,
Couldn't
but she
represent
didn't
China.
say, "That's what I'm representing," you know?
No, no,
She
but
didn't say, "I'm playing for China to." Yeah, no, no, I know what you're saying, but she could have just said that here, if she wanted to, But I don't think she wanted to represent China I think she wanted to represent as a culture more than anything else. I think she
well,
feel
yeah, she's
culturally
saying about
that
her
way.
her mother, her mother being from there. Yeah, the things just get complicated, though, because she's an American. She was
Yeah.
born here. She's lived here, and, I don't know what kind of rules they have about, can you have dual citizenship or whether or not they waive that. But in a similar way of, if you don't feel comfortable representing the country, you shouldn't represent the country. I think it's similar to, well, if you don't feel comfortable representing the country, then maybe you should pick your ass up and go to the country where you feel comfortable representing and, give up nobody wants to give up the passport of the United States though, you know?
No, but that's the thing is, like, I don't think it's the same thing, because you can be, first of all, you can be representing something in sports that you think that you want to do. Like, if I choose to represent USA, this is because for me, you know, the values and culture and stuff like that, that's something that I align with in my opinion, If she thinks that she want to represent a dream for the little girls or the culture of China or whatever it is, my point is, like, I think we got kinda, like, back to the prayers and stuff. Like, people try to make you un-American if you do something, but being American is allowing people to do whatever they want. That's the best thing about what we have, So
Well,
she doesn't.
you could still criticize though. No,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. No, no, you can criticize, but I'm saying when people
eh,
say, like, I saw on Twitter, like, I mean, crazy stuff. It's like, "Oh, why don't you just, like, they announced the, citizenship. Let's just take her out. Let's deport her. Let's do this. I mean, come on, seriously? How many actually at the most famous American Olympian was from during the Cold War, I forgot her name, was, from Russia, and she represent the United States, what
yeah,
was her name?
she was but, again, that's another
During the
case of
Cold War.
but that's a case of you're leaving a, totalitarian regime coming to the United States for freedom and then representing that freedom, you know?
But this is the problem that I have with things like that, is, like, people tend to make it only one way. So if you come this way, it's fine, but if you disagree with things, like, let's say here, like, okay, we have a lot of great things happening, but also we have a lot of bad things happening, a lot of, it's the same, like, let's talk about, like, any country that, when Russia was banned from the Olympic one time, or we didn't go,
For
this
doping,
is
right?
because of. Hmm?
For doping, right?
Yeah, no, no, no. Back in the Cold War, when they're like, we can't agree. When Reagan is like, we can't agree. Was it Reagan? Well, I don't remember who was. One of the president, and we boycott, the whole Olympics.
Wait, was that
Moscow. I think
oh,
it was in the
yeah, I don't
80s or something. But anyway, so I think it's one way. The problem that I have with it is, like, it's always one way. So if people come this way, it's fine. But if it's the other way around, no. If we did something wrong, then it's fine. But if people do it to us, then it's wrong. So my point is, like, there's no one should be able to say, um, this is the American way. It's either this or leave it. And this is why the video I sent you is so funny. If we
yeah,
can,
I don't have it.
let me see if I
Yeah.
can play it.
Well,
But yeah, good.
yeah, so a couple things. One, a couple things that complicate things, with it being China. One, she was paid a lot of money. So it wasn't I don't think it's, out of the you know, s all out of the goodness of her heart or her love for her mother's homeland, which, her mom I think it seems like, uh, if your homeland was so great, why did you come to fucking California? But whatever, that being said, but it's also about, um, you know, being able to, be held to account for whatever, uh, the politics, the ideology of the country that you're representing, because the same way that, uh, that reporters are asking pointed questions about, "What do you think about ICE and happening here? And what do you think about Donald Trump? Blah, 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 blah." And then turning those questions and not even, not asking the hard pointed questions of like, "Hey, you're a California girl. How does it feel to be representing a country where you're not allowed to criticize the state? What is that like, for you?" And then her saying like, I think at one point she said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I don't know too much about it. I don't do too much research into it." It's like, come on. We're like, now we're just into, bullshit.
Well, I think that the main thing is, like, it's always, you know that we say, or supposedly, that sports and politics are not the same thing. They're not like, one of the rules of the Olympics and the World Cup and all that, actually in FIFA in general too, in soccer, that, you cannot, um, involved in politics. If you are, like, if there's a country that involved in politics, they will take it away.
What
Uh,
does that mean? Like, involved in
so
politics?
let's say if there is a country, like if the government is involved in choosing a team or making rules or something like that for the team, they are in the um they're suspended,
Oh,
if they are involved in and the whole idea of the sports and the Olympics in general, and is to bring in the nations together. It's the first time that you see one of the most amazing pictures I've seen was, when North Korean and South Korean athlete together,
mhm.
in one picture. So that's the idea of it. So I think if we going to uh, address politics, and this is exactly what we are just saying before about the hockey team, is like, don't involve politics in it. It just simply sports. Same thing with the hockey team, same thing with the
Yeah,
players. So if
I think you're making a good point. It's sort of I have to like kind of check myself where, yeah, on one hand I'm saying like, here are these journalists trying to get the athletes to discuss politics and that sucks. But yet, I want you to to ask those questions to Goo over there. And I think, I probably from my own experience, I think what I'm responding to is just all of the shy-com, pro-China shills, just talking shit. And then I'm sort of dealing with those assholes and thinking like, maybe I'm turning some of that energy onto, this athlete who, for whatever reason, no, for many reasons, is decided to ski for another country.
Yeah, I wanna. While we doing this, I have to look for that video because I think there's something of the funniest thing ever that JD Vance said. I'm gonna look at it while we discuss something else if you like.
Yeah, sure. Well,
But yeah, tell me. I mean, we can continue with this. I just think she's a great role model. Even the way she responded to criticism is not the same um other athletes. She wasn't arrogant, she wasn't anti-American. I would have a problem with that, um, but she wasn't really.
yeah, I got to read. Our mutual friend Mike Pesca, wrote a little bit about, not necessarily about Goo, but about the media's response and interactions with her. I think it's worth reading. It's up on his. I think he wrote it for the Free Press, um, and it's on their Substack. Yeah, something I want to talk about. So it snowed. Um, I, uh, I think the city, this time around, New York has done a much better job actually shoveling the stuff out. It seemed like, there was a way to get volunteers. I think paid up to like $30 an hour, to shovel. And obviously, people were making the jokes
This is
about,
how you know that you're not an immigrant. $19 an hour. I know you
was it?
don't.
Oh, I thought it went up to 30. Oh, okay. Um, No, and obviously all the jokes are going around about, needing to show like forms of identification. So it's a lot harder to, get a shoveling job than it is to vote in New York. But I think there was a good point to be made about, you know, uh, i- the shoveling jobs are keeping people who are unable to get identification away from having a shoveling job. And I just think just in general, no matter what anyone thinks about whether or not you should have identification to vote, I think
Oh,
it
that's funny.
obviously is in everyone's best interest to be able to have identification. So I think there should be like people, even if you don't need ID to vote, there should be people out there trying to get people identification so they can actually do all the shit you need identification to do.
That is funny. I think I might have found
Yeah, can
the
you share it?
video.
Do you wanna
Let me
present
see.
your,
Can you see this?
yeah, let me add to the stage. There we go. Yep.
Can we hear it?
Freedom.
Um,
They make this
yeah, just have to turn the volume up. Yep.
country a great place. I would hope that they want to compete in
Okay,
America who benefit.
you can hear it, right?
Yeah, do you wanna set this up?
No, so this is JD Vance talking about her.
Oh,
Let me
about Eileen Gu. Okay.
Yeah, but he's gonna say one of the funny to me. I don't know. I think it's hilarious, but let's hear it.
I certainly think that somebody who grew up in the United States of America, who benefited from our education system, from the freedoms and liberties that make this country a great place, I would hope that they want to compete with the United States of America. So I'm going to root for American. athletes. And I think part of that is people who identify themselves as Americans.
I never heard a MAGA say identify themselves as something. It's like identify themselves as Americans. There we go.
Now, in response to those comments, Gu saying in part, quote, so many athletes compete for a different country. People only have a problem with me doing it because they kind of lump China into this monolithic entity and they just hate China. Gu will have an opportunity to claim her 6th Olympic medal on
Which we know that she did. But I think for for him to say identify as American, I don't know what that is. Like it's you are American, like. But I find it so funny. I never heard JD Vance say, because they always had the problem with the left saying I identify as this or I
Right,
identify
right.
as that. For him to say I identify as American, just like that word and that phrase coming from him, is just so funny to me.
Well, yeah, and this is probably definitely a subject for another, conversation. The idea of what does it mean to be an American? Because honestly, I like, you're an immigrant. My dad is an immigrant. Our friend Boris is an immigrant. I consider you guys like, you're three of my favorite Americans.
True.
And I think, no, and I think you guys really, you guys talk about my dad. Yeah, Mike, he's a guy. Um, but I see within you guys values that I consider American values. And I'm like, you're right on. These are my three fellow Americans. Meanwhile, there are people who have, born here, raised here, been here for generations, their families. And I'm like, I don't fucking consider you guys American, you know?
I agree with you.
You
That's
know what I
why
mean?
America is an idea. It's the same thing, and that's it always was a place. Back in the day, when people escape other places, it's supposed to be the dream, but that doesn't mean that you can criticize or cannot do, and that's what we do, which you do a great job with as well. But you're 100% right. You know, being American is not just being born here, even though it's much easier with ICE. Try to say that to ICE when they
I
take
know.
it. Like being American is not. Shut up.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
But that's why it makes you even. But I do think that people that lived somewhere else or grew up somewhere else or born somewhere else have more advantage than, especially if it's somewhere where it's harder. We don't have a lot of liberties. It's like because you appreciate it more, while people that don't.
Yeah. So I know we're running out of time. But have you been watching have you been participating in any snowball fights in the city?
I have not. I've seen there's a I live in Williamsburg. There was a big snow ball fight in McCarran Park, but I did not go. Somehow I feel like I'm gonna be the target. So I don't know why.
I know you're not as fast as you used to be, and you're a
Yeah.
soccer player, so you're gonna be trying to kick the friggin' the snowballs instead of throwing, or you're gonna be throwing it 2 hands overhand.
And it's also is not like you know ice is I don't know, it's like you need some I was never like an ice kind of guy, so
Mhm.
snow and ice is just like not my sport. I don't ski as much as what about you?
Uh, well, just I mean, I did a little bit of shoveling today because 'cause I'm out in New Jersey. For some reason, the snow that we've been getting out where I live, it's terrible for packing. You can't pack, like a
No.
legit snowball, which sucks because my kids wanted to make like a snowman and have a snowball fight. We weren't able to do it. So all of my I've been living vicariously through everybody like who are having snowball fights, and the latest thing where I'm, getting into arguments with people or over the snowball fight that happened in Washington Square Park, which looked like fun until I saw a bunch of a few police officers getting pelted with snowballs, and it's so obvious that they were not part of the snowball fight, right? And that's the thing, too, like, the way that, w you know, people can look at the same footage and then come away either honestly or dishonestly with
Yeah.
with a different narrative. It's like, "Look, these officers obviously weren't the type who were like, 'Yeah, let's have a snowball fight, kids.'"
Yeah.
And they weren't kids that were having the snowball fights. They were grown ass men. You know what it's like in Washington Square Park.
Well, that's what I meant when I said, like, I'm gonna be the target. I don't wanna go there because I feel like I wouldn't be participating, yet I'll be having all the snowballs
Yeah,
on me.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's, this is the beginning of, the disrespect of, and a little bit aggression. When you get your aggression in a physical way in somebody that doesn't wanna participate, that's why I like the one here in McCallum Park because it's like there's borders. If you're in here, you'll be part of it. If you're not, you're not
Right.
part of it. So, no, I agree with you. I didn't see the footage, but I can imagine, especially the Washington Square Park is, there's a lot of things like that.
It's a mix of, various people of people of various, mentally disturbed degrees,
Yeah,
and it's something where, like, what you described McLaren Park, and I think I saw some footage of it. I saw people, like, doing, like, sledding and the snowball fight, and it was awesome, and you know what it was? It was consensual. Everyone
yeah,
there was a part of it, and what 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 I'm seeing, and the argument that I'm getting into with people is, I can't believe the way civilians, uh, treat police officers, and not like, "Oh, you gotta get on your knees and bow to the police officers," but when I was growing up, you you don't fuck with police officers. You don't put your hands on a cop. You don't throw shit at a cop, and I've been living with this whole, for the past, I'm about to be 44 years old. I'm under the understanding if I put my hands on a cop, we're gonna fight. It's gonna be a fight. So you have these people putting themselves into what I think a really bad situation, and then trying to play it off of, "Oh, it's just a snowball fight." It's like, I know you didn't see the footage, but there's footage of the one cop. He turns around and his whole face, his eye it's all red because it's very easy to get ice into a snowball and to be tossing it at people. So it's like, it, people want it all these ways. They want the police to be this, violent, evil force that's keeping people down, but then they also want to fuck with them
yeah.
without any retribution. And it's like, look, I don't fuck with cops. I don't fuck with grown men. I don't cause any trouble. I'm trying to, keep my head on the swivel and stay out of trouble. And I think it's a smarter smarter way to live. I don't feel like getting my ass kicked or worse. You know.
No, I agree with you. It's, again, if the cops do like uh, you know, uh, stop working one day or, went on a strike for a couple of days or something, it's going to be crazy. And I think, again, back to like when we were talking about Trump calling the hockey team at that moment, is not about Trump, it's about the president of the United States. Uh, so now you have the cops who represent, law and order. You know, there's a lot of them are awful. And I bet you're not going to throw anything at the awful ones.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna only throw it at people that are not gonna react. If one of them came your way with a gun or whatever, you're gonna stop right away. But whoever is gonna tolerate, and this is the problem with always me with anybody that wanna be, a tough guy or like it's like they only do it to the people that gonna tolerate it, and they
Right.
tolerate it usually because they're stronger than you, but they just wanna keep the peace. But it's obviously there's some horrible things that some of the cops did, and I think they should be more regulation to investigate and stuff like that. But the majority of cops is like they represent law and order. So you cannot disrespect that, or your own rights is going to be taken away someday.
Yeah. And just I kind of describe it for people who ride bicycles in the city, and I used to ride a bike in the city, and when you're on a bicycle, you're in a very vulnerable position. You're not in a car, and you're riding with all these cars. So you have to be extra careful in what you do because you might be right. You might have the right of way on that turn, but you get hit by a car and you're fucked.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I was right, but I'm messed up. And it's like, really keep that in the back of your mind. You might be right, you might be righteous, but you could still mess up and really, ruin your life.
And that cop that was hurt, if something was happened to the people that throw in, like if somebody like attacked them or steal the first thing they're gonna do is run to this cop for help. You know. So I think there's two difference between attacking, a symbol of law and order just because it's a symbol of law and order, or people, held people accountable that did something wrong. Like if a cop did something wrong, that's the time that for you as a person to shine and spread the word, to go protest peacefully, whatever you want to do. But to take it on everybody, it's kind of like people like go to a comedy show and don't laugh and come to your show and like attack you. It's like, you're not funny. It's like, I didn't even say anything yet. It's crazy.
That happens way too much. Hatem
That
can
was
tell
me
you.
yelling in the back.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
So, Hatem, where can people find you? Good people. Where can good people find you? No bad people.
Well, I mean, you can always go to the FBI website. They know exactly where I am at any given moment. But Hatem NYC, that's HATEM, like hate, and then NYC. You can find me anywhere, Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And also, you can always find me with Lou. We do a lot of shows together. So he's a funny comedian. I produce his shows, and
Yeah, we have some stuff coming up that I'm looking forward to announce once we make it official.
Great.
All right, guys, that's been the Lou Perez podcast and the Live from America podcast. Bye.
Good night.